Hello and welcome to the Virtual Cafe. I'm your host, Segilola Salami. What can I offer you today? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, hi. What can I offer you today?
Oh, I'd like an espresso, please. Maybe make it a double shot. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here.
Oh dear, it's a late one for you. Okay, that's fine. And what would you like to have with your drink?
Sorry, what was that?
What would you like to have with your drink?
Oh, maybe a croissant, please.
Okay, that's fine. Right, so just get the little human to do that. Sorry, I didn't get your name before.
Oh, sorry. My name's Lita Bennett. I'm an author and I write as Lee Bennett. I write romantic comedy and urban fantasy. Latest book is Avalon's Child.
Okay, and what's that about, Evelyn's Child?
It's about about fairies who have crossed over into our world and are living amongst our population.
Fairies?
Yeah.
That sounds more fantasy than romance. And was there a bit of romance in there?
Oh, yeah. Avalon's Child's my urban fantasy. Flirting with Magic is my romance novel.
Ah, interesting. That sounds interesting. Oh, cool. Thanks. Right. So, we're just gonna wait for the little human to get your order together. We're starting her on working ethics now because start them off how you want them to grow up. There was another lady who was meant to stop by the cafe today, but again, we always seem to have technical problems. Well, not always, but she's sort of stopped by and then sort of zoomed off again. But never mind. Apart from do you self-publish or what? How did you get your books? When did you start? Right, I'm just asking so many questions now.
Well, I started off self-published, and then I was able to submit to a publishing company called Book Trope. It was just through one of the book managers there. I submitted my novel, and she liked it, so she said she would submit it to the company. About a month or so later, I heard back from them, and they said they would love to go ahead with my novel and re-release it through them.
Okay.
So, pardon?
Yeah, no, so I couldn't hear you for a second. Go on, I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So I re-released Flirting with Magic with them, and then I was also able to release Avalon's Child as a whole new novel with them as well.
Okay, right. So basically, you contacted them first, and I'm guessing with several others, and then they responded back to say they liked your book, and then they wanted to take it forward. So in the contract that they offered you before you signed on the dotted line, what was it about their offer that made you want to go with them?
I think it was, well, like Julie said, I did quite like the idea of saying I had a publisher and it validated my work. But also just the idea of working with a team and not just having to do everything all by myself. Also the financial aspect of it came in as well with, I didn't have to pay the upfront fees for the proofreader and the editor and the cover artist. So for me, I felt that it was just going to be an easier way for me to get published rather than have to put up the finances myself.
Right. Okay. So the main advantage, was, having no upfront cost because you don't have to pay for the editor, you don't have to proofreader. Okay, that sounds good. So, but before signing the dotted line, was there anything else, or was that just the only thing that made you think, yes, perfect deal, or did they offer you anything else that made you want to sort of sign on the dotted line?
No, I think as far as marketing was concerned, I did like the idea of having a book manager because for me, marketing is just not my strong point. So having that taken a little bit off my hands was really helpful. Also, I think because the contract that we originally were getting was only 5 years, so it didn't feel like a permanent contract where they would take my book forever.
Okay. And they didn't give you any upfront royalties?
No.
No. Okay. So no upfront royalties, but you then have a team behind you. Especially seeing as marketing was not your strong point. How were you doing sales-wise before you joined Booktrope?
I wouldn't say it was great, to be honest, with sales. I think I sold a lot more with Booktrope, but as what Julie said, she sold more before Booktrope, but I think she had more books out and also had been out for a lot longer than I had. So I'm not sure what the difference would have been had I been out as long as her before the publisher as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, again, the main thing is, you got some sales, out of it. Right. So, okay, let me see, what else do I have to know now? Was there any disadvantage? I mean, with everything in life, there is advantage, there's disadvantage. So what's been the major disadvantages, of working, with a publisher?
Well, at this point, the publisher has closed down, so now we have to go back to self-publishing. So I guess you would call that a disadvantage that now we don't have a publisher. I think the disadvantages, they were fairly good as far as creative control was concerned. One of the disadvantages was we couldn't set the price for our books, which I think is just a normal thing for most publishers anyway. You do get a lot more creative control as a self-publisher.
Hello? Are you there?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, no, I couldn't hear you for a second. Okay. So the major disadvantage for you then is that you don't get, you still get creative, you get more creative control as a self-published author as opposed to when you're working with a publisher. When you're self-published, you get to determine the price of your book, but then you don't do that when you're working with a publisher. Any other disadvantage?
With the publisher or self-publishing?
Yes, working with the publisher.
I don't think there were a lot of disadvantages with the publisher. I think having a publisher helped me a lot. Really, if anything, just as a learning experience, I learned a lot more about marketing. I learned a lot more about the actual processes, which on a more professional basis, as opposed to what I had to do and learn when I was just trying to work my way around things by myself.
Okay, so did they say to you what it was about your book that made them take you onto their books? Because there's this term that is quite popular. Well, I think it's popular because I've heard it so many times. It's called the slush pile. And so you can imagine, loads of, publishers have loads of different people that send them, emails every day trying to, get on board with them. So what was it about your book that you think stood out for them that made them choose you over the other, people who email them?
I hope it's to do with the quality of the work. I really did as much homework as I could with getting an editor, getting a professional cover designer. This was all for my self-published work. They also were able to see that it had already made some sales and was getting some good reviews. So I think because I put the work in to start with, they could see that, yes, it was getting some returns already.
Okay. Now, do you think your genre also has, something to do with it as well? Because, from what I've read, a lot of, romance is actually very popular. And so it's one, from what I heard, and I'm not an expert, that romance books they outsell more than the other genres. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. My book was actually written more as a chick lit book. So I've just made it as a romantic comedy genre. But I think, romance is just all over the place at the moment. So I think that would definitely have something to do with it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So, what would you advise a newbie author, with regards to getting a publisher? What would you say if they were going to do, if they had only one chance to, what's the word I'm looking for? Convince, a publisher to take them on board. What would you advise them? How would you, ask them to go about it? What do they need to do? Like, give them a step-by-step process, even though they may not be a romance, they might not be a romance writer.
Yep. I would just say make sure that the quality of work you put out is the best that you can possibly get it. Make sure you get the writing right, you get the plot right, you don't have any plot holes, you get an editor onto it, you get beta readers onto it to make sure that everything reads how you want it to read. Just do your homework, and just don't give them something that could be done better, if you know what I mean.
Right. So basically, get an editor, get proofreaders, make it the best that you can possibly make it.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so that there are no errors, no typos. The plot is thick. The plot, is everything that it possibly can be, and then possibly also, if possible, I'm saying possibly, if possible, I'm speaking too many. Then so basically, do it the way that you would if you wanted to sell it yourself.
That's right.
Okay, and then so what would you advise someone to help them determine which publisher to go for? I mean, there are hundreds of publishers out there apart from the big ones.
Yeah.
So what tips would you give someone with regards to finding a publisher?
I'm not sure. When I found my publisher, I was actually friends with my book manager on Facebook, and she was just looking for submissions. And really, if anything, I just saw that there and took a chance and thought, I'll give this a go and see what happens. But I think when it comes to looking for publishers, obviously they have certain things that they want. So just do your homework, make sure that you cover all of their I can't think of the word.
Submission policy?
Yeah, it's all the submission guidelines and what they're after, just to make sure that you're not wasting your time with the wrong publishers.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so let me just see now. Let's see if I get it all. Right, before I even try and recap, what is working with them from a marketing sense of point of view, what has that been like?
With the publisher?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost you for a bit there.
Yeah.
With the marketing, there was a lot of social media marketing involved. And because my book manager was able to take a lot of that off my hands, just in relation to, she knew where the places were to list my book with. She knew which places were a bit dodgy and you probably shouldn't use them because they would just take your money and run. So from that perspective, the marketing probably saved me a lot of money as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did they do any print copies of your book, or was it just all ebooks?
They did do print copies of my book. They weren't available in Australia. They weren't available in stores, but you could buy them on Amazon. I think they were available maybe at Barnes and Noble, mainly online anyway. Book Depository. So you were able to buy the books, the paperback copies.
Right. Okay. So no, I think you mentioned earlier that Book Trope, they're closing down, which is quite a shame though. So
it is.
So would you go looking for another publisher, or would you just go back to being self-published?
I think I'd like to get back into self-publishing, even just for a little while, just to get back into things. I would like to start shopping around for a publisher. I would like to write some more books first, hone my craft a little bit more, work out if there's any other genres I'd like to try out. I just want to have fun with it again as well. Not that it wasn't fun with the publisher or anything like that, but I think I just like to just take a step back and just get back into the writing.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you taken from them that in terms of experience or knowledge that you feel that you're going to apply, whilst you're taking a step back, that someone else would, benefit from knowing?
If anything, I have met some wonderful people who I know I can work with in the future. My book manager was absolutely brilliant, and I would love to work with her again. The editors I've worked with and the proofreaders I've worked with and the cover designer that I worked with were all just absolutely wonderful. And so I'm happy that I have met those people.
Yeah.
And now that it's just, I don't have to go shopping around to find those people when I'm ready to have them work with me again.
Ah, perfect. So basically you can then sort of use them on a freelance basis.
Yes.
Ah, perfect. So I guess then so to recap, just to make sure that I've got my head around it, is, when you're not working with the big publishers, there really is only very little difference between being self-published and working with the publisher. So before you approach a publisher, one needs to get their book to be as perfect as you possibly can make it, and do it so that you can, do it the way you would like to publish it. Do it the way you would like anybody to read it, right? So don't just say, oh, because I'm sending it to a publisher, I will send them an unedited draft, full with typos and all the nonsense and whatnot. Make it the best that you possibly can. So that's the number one thing. Then the second thing is to make sure that when you're shopping for a publisher, you go through their submission guidelines to make sure that your book and yourself are in line with what they're looking for, right?
Yes.
So that's the second thing. Now then, the main disadvantages, so those are the two main things, to do to start off. The main disadvantages of having a publisher, as opposed to being, as opposed to being self-published, is that one, you have less creative control and less money than if you go it alone. But on the plus side, you don't have to pay any upfront costs. So moving forward, any other books that you're writing, if they do take on your subsequent books, is that you don't have to pay any upfront costs for editors, proofreaders, cover designers, or any of those things. You don't have to pay any of those costs upfront, right?
That's right.
Then they also give you guidance on marketing, and then you also don't have to pay any money upfront for marketing either.
There were a couple of small upfront costs, but nothing that I'd probably nothing that would break the bank.
Oh, that's interesting. Would you mind sharing with us what these upfront costs? Because I would have thought that when you're with a publisher, that's it. That they would sort out all the marketing.
Most of it was, I think, because they have their specific marketing places that they would go to, and areas that they have. I think if you wanted to go elsewhere or do something that was a little bit out of their norm.
Right.
But
Okay, so basically it's when you're looking for something over and above what they would normally do, then you're welcome to pay for it yourself.
That's right, yeah.
Right, okay, that's fine. But then again, so I guess everything has the pros and the cons, but then you've also networked with other people as a consequence of being with a publisher, and though even unfortunately that they are closing down, well, you still have access to the people that you've already worked with that you can use, moving forward.
That's right, yes, definitely.
Okay. Cool, that's quite interesting. I'm sorry I've had to ask so many questions, because it's just, it's quite interesting, to try and, see behind the workings of, having a publisher, not having a publisher, and, if there were any advantages or disadvantages. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not even 2 o'clock yet, and I'm not even sure why I'm yawning. I think it's the heat wave that we've been having in London. It sort of shattered me down. Okay. So tell us again about your latest book. And I think, even though the sun has shattered me down, I'm not having baby brain today. I remember the title. It's called Avalon Child. Yes?
That's right, yes.
Oh, good, good. I'm feeling quite proud of myself. So tell us about it.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, so just tell us about your book.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, it's about fairies that live in our world. The main protagonist, it's kind of an ensemble cast, really. It's going to be part of a series called the Everdale Fae series. I guess what inspired me to write it was a magazine article that someone was talking about urban fae. It described things such as a plastic bag floating in the air as a busker fae, or tripping over nothing was the presence of a trickster fae. And I had the idea of incorporating those into the characters. Yeah. So I did it as a NaNoWriMo project a few years ago, and then just worked on it for a couple more years after that.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So, is there any, now, every author, myself included, will always say they love their book, right? But seeing as you finish it, and then I read somewhere, either read somewhere or someone told me, but somehow I heard this, right? That a good artist, so for instance, let's say a painter, for instance, right? A painter paints a masterpiece, right? But how you know a good painter is one who would go away after creating a masterpiece, comes back, and sees ways to improve it. That's something I heard or read, or somehow that knowledge flitted into my head, right? So,
okay, yep.
Now, you've already done your work, you've published it. Is there any way you feel like you could improve it? If you were going to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
All the time. All the time. I think there just has to be a point where you just need to walk away. Otherwise, you will just constantly think of new things to put into a book. I don't think really all the ideas that you have, I think sometimes you might find when it comes down to reviews or what people are saying about it, maybe you probably could improve it a little bit. Otherwise, I think maybe if it's how you wanted it and you were happy with it when it was published, maybe it is just time to walk away and perhaps use those ideas with something else.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So is there anything else you would like to tell the listeners about your book? Why they should get it?
At the moment, it's only going to be available until May 31st, and then my publisher will take it offline. So that book, Flirting with Magic, and there's also a collection that a bunch of us have done that will also be coming off on the 31st of May. One of Julie's books is in there as well. So if you wanted to get some wonderful books, you have until the 31st of May to get them on Amazon.
Oh dear, so what's going to happen afterwards?
Well, the collection will come off Amazon and all the books will be returned to us, and we'll just publish them again in our own ways. Like I'll be self-publishing mine all over again. As far as I know, I think Julie was going to do the same. So I think it just depends on what everybody wants to do for themselves, really.
Yeah. Well, so would it then be a matter of, they taking it off and you just putting it straight back on Amazon KDP, or what would you do? Or would your book not be available? Like, what are your plans for your book?
Once it comes offline, I have to redo a few things. I have to change the ISBN, that kind of thing,
Right.
and get So that's really the biggest thing. Just get the permission to use the photos for the cover art again, because everything has been under our publisher's copyright. So
yes,
we just have to get it all back for ourselves, and then we can just do whatever we want with it.
Right, okay. Right, okay. So basically all our listeners only have till the 31st of May 2016 to get your book, and then it's going to come offline. And then, till whenever you are able to sort out, sort of technical formalities before you're able to put it back online again.
That's right, yes.
Okay, that's
so
fine.
It could be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months. Hopefully it's only going to be a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm rooting for a couple of weeks. I mean, I do like the title of the book, and I do like fairies as well. So fingers crossed, it shouldn't take you too long to get it sorted out. But just out of interest, though, if any of the listeners wanted to connect with you, how will they do it?
Probably the easier way to get me would be on my Facebook page, which is Lee Bennett Author. If you just pop that into the search, you should be able to find me, and it's Lee with an Leigh.
Okay, and then Bennett, so double N, double T?
That's right, double N E double T. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so very much for taking the time to come on the show. It's been fun chatting with you. And hopefully we'll see you. Thanks for coming, and hopefully we'll see you soon. And hopefully maybe once you're all sorted out now, then we can get you another episode where your book will be available, so we can probably do a giveaway then, because there's not much time now. Okay, that's perfect. So to all our listeners, thank you for stopping by, and we will chat with you. We'll see you soon again next week on the Segilola Salami Show. Bye now, Leah.
Bye.
Bye.